Howdy-o, what do you know, it is Rabbit of ScrubLeet Academy. We are back in Dito today, and today we're going to be doing something I haven't been able to find myself in all 3 minutes of research on this subject. Maxing out a favorite enemies list. With this, we're going to go over all the favorite enemies in the game currently, determining what their strengths and weaknesses are based on my experience with Dito, and finally comprise a character that will have the absolute highest number of favorite enemies we can get at any one time with any one character. So fuck it, let's get moving to favorite enemies, a subject I know the Horizon-Walker deep stalkers in the audience are gonna love. Still going with that joke. Well, I'm glad to say that Ranger is no longer the best place to get favorite enemies. There are a ton of other ways to do it that don't involve taking a single Ranger level. But let's be real, that's a bald-faced fucking lie. Ranger gives you at least 6 of the total favorite enemies list, which caps out at 11 or 12. But since they get access to all types of favorite enemies in the game, we'll actually want to approach this one last to optimize the total number we can have at any one time. The availability regarding enhancement trees, destinies, and your mom is limited. Trust me, I've tried all 3. That gives us a better idea of what we're looking for, especially when it comes to Danny's mom. My relationship status aside, we'll start with the easiest favorite enemies to get, which are in the Universal and Destiny trees. To start with, we can knock off Undead, Animal, and Fae right away. They exist in the Falconry, Vistani Night Fighter, and Shirati champion trees, respectively. Both Undead and Animal cost 2 action points each, so that's pretty easy for any build. You can even get rid of VKF if you choose to build an Aasimar Scourge, which gets Undead as a favorite enemy at no cost. Considering how common animals, and especially undead, are in Dito, these are 2 of the best options you could take. Shirati has no competition when it comes to favorite enemies, since no other Epic Destiny gets one. The investment's a bit steep at 21 Destiny points, but our build will probably use that tree anyway. So I think we can count this in our ultimate favorite enemies build without issue. Also, for a 6-point investment, we can take the Horizon-Walker's Evil Outsider, a massive favorite enemy that will help us kill even Reapers. That compensates with, and could even surpass Undead as the best favorite enemy. It would make a ton of sense for Horizon-Walker too, if the planeswalking Horizon-Walker weren't the actual outsider wherever they went. Still, great option, and we're going to exploit it. So let's move on to a couple more difficult entries, and let's consider what the choices are for our next one. Some exist in enhancement trees, some exist in classes, and a few favorite enemy types belong to specific races. I think that's where our next gate is. We want to choose the right race for this build, since we can't change that race. Our 3 options are Aasimar Scourge, which had Undead, as we discovered, Gnome, which has Goblinoid and Reptilian, and Shifter, which we can choose from Animal, Fae, Magical Beast, Plant, Reptilian, and Vermin. Of these, I think the clear winner is Shifter, and the best favorite enemy is a toss-up between Plant and Vermin, either of which cost 12 enhancement points. Both are quite numerous, Vermin being significantly more so, but Plant has that pesky DR and doesn't like to die easily. I'll choose Plant for that reason. Vermin die quick. As a quick recap, we've spent a grand total of 22 enhancement points, 12 in Shifter, 6 in Horizon, and 2 each in Falconry and VKF. The last universal tree we need to work on, Harper Agent. Harper gets access to aberrations, constructs... Wait, no need to go further. We found our enemy. Think Sharn and you'll know exactly why this is the one. We could take dragons, giants, or monstrous humanoids, but they're just not numerous or threatening enough. Evil Outsiders and Undead are here already, so we have those. Constructs are a shoo-in for this favored enemy. So here's our list so far. Animal, Construct, Evil Outsider, Fae, Plant, or Vermin, and Undead. So now we're a Shifter. Not the Razor Claw, mind you. We don't want to have to get rid of a mandatory Barbarian level, just the normal shifty bastard. Now we need to sort out our class and class enhancement trees, since they're the next most limiting things. In this category, I think Ranger is, well, the obvious winner, and only the Deepwood Stalker has a new favorite enemy for us to choose out of the Ranger trees. The problem is, it's 32 fucking points in the tree! That's a hell of an investment, and we have somewhere else better suited to our maximized favorite enemy list. Let's sort out the Ranger class first, though, since it really does matter here. Now we can finally focus on what we're looking for in the Ranger class, since we have all the favorite enemies we need from everything else. Here's our list, minus the choices that we've made already. Wow, we have to start knocking some results off this list. Let's start with aberrations. Mostly, Beholders, Mind Flayers, Rusties, and Mimics are the major threats here, with Willows having an honorable mention in some Barovia content. It's a solid choice. Let's leave that one to cook for a bit while we go parse out some other options. None of the outsider types are a major threat in this list, save for the Slod in a couple of dungeons. Abishai, like pretty much all threatening outsiders, are evil. We don't need those other types. So let's get rid of all outsider types. Dragons are extremely rare as well. Let's drop those. Dwarves aren't all that threatening, but they're also not really all that numerous. Neither are giants, gnolls, or goblins on average. We could drop all of them, even orcs and reptilians. Wow, we're killing this list already. Let's get rid of monstrous humanoids as well. A lot of them are glass cannons, sure, but they're not able to take a proper hit, and they're poorly represented in current content. Magical Beast can be a bit dangerous, but the ones that could hurt us just aren't that commonplace either. The last one I really want to look at is Ooze. It makes me wonder if they're all that big a deal. They're super easy to kite, super easy to kill, and I think they're pretty bad as an option for that reason. Let's drop them. And that leaves us with 5. Wow, I didn't actually think it would work out this perfectly when I started this list. So I'll grade my recommendations at each level. Now, why take them at these levels? Well, presuming we have access to animal and undead at level 1, the absolute most common enemy is human throughout the leveling process. It's the best to take at first. Elementals start to show up in larger numbers from 5 onward, especially with the most ideal leveling bracket in Dito, 3-Barrel Cove. Aberrations are extremely prevalent in 10+ content, and 15+ is entirely drow-centric. That leaves halflings. Why halflings? I think a good reason is just that Sharn has a lot of the slippery little shits. They're wildly overscale and ridiculously absurd as far as monster types go. I mean, look at them. They're terrible. But you really don't need them at any specific level bracket, so they're the last ones just because epics are a thing. So why don't we bother with the natural favorite enemies in Deepwood? Well, you can go into Deepwood if you want, say you don't have access to Horizon-Walker, or you just want to protest this pile of copy-paste effluence they call a playstyle. I would understand any reason. If you take Deepwood's favorite enemy, the best one at that point becomes Plant or Vermin, whichever one you didn't take previously, and you gain a bit more damage against each of your favorite enemies. So it's more of a baseline damage increase. But if you don't, you'll have all the enhancement points you need to take the Horizon ability. Marking targets is the best Dito effect that has ever been created, at least from the perspective of coordinating attacks. The fact that they gated it to the stupid tree is the only downside. But if you spend your proverbial life savings to get 41 points in here, you get the ability to make all marked targets your favorite enemies. The bonus you would get to damage on a favorite enemy is doubled if you mark a target that's already one of your enemies, meaning you'll get a stupid amount of deadly tacked onto your already absurd damage towards that target. For that reason, it might be more worth it just to take the mark than to take Deepwood Stalker really at all. As a recap, what is the favorite enemy build going to have at the end of our favorite enemy count? Well, we're going to have aberrations, animals, constructs, elementals, elves, evil outsiders, fae, halflings, humans, and undead, with plants and vermin being a more choice-based opportunity. Since each one contributes to a pool of favorite enemies, and each favorite enemy in that pool adds +2 damage to all attacks done against any of the favorite enemies in that pool, if you have multiple enemies, you'll do increased damage, not only to the new enemies you pick up, but also to all previous enemies you had. For example, if you have human at first level, and pick up undead for 2 enhancement points, you'll do 4 extra damage to either humans or undead. Your total damage done to any favorite enemy is multiplied by the number of favorite enemies you have, which is why we wanted so many of them. That being said, we can have 11 favorite enemies with Horizon-Walker Tree's Mark, or 12 favorite enemies if we pick up that last enemy in Deepwood Stalker. That means we'll effectively have either +22 or +24 damage against any of the targets we've chosen. But if you mark a target that's already your enemy, you'll get a ridiculous +44 total deadly against that target, since you can't get the 12th enemy for +2 base. Now that's absolutely fucked. This is the most ridiculous deadly increase in the game, and it can work with almost every major threat you find. If you enjoyed what we did here today, make sure you support your local academy in the comments section down below, and like and share this video across all platforms. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Hulu, Prime Video, Reddit, Rotten Tomatoes, wherever you can. If you didn't, then still pulverize that like button and leave a comment. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day!